Hi, I'm Peter Brusso. We're doing a Skype podcast today for 101 Small Business Mastermind. And with me today we have Dick Bentley. Say good morning, Dick.
Good morning, Dick.
And say good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Dick.
And Google Hangout. We got a Google Hangout started with no start button. So I don't know. After the first of the year, they're changing things up a little bit. All right, excuse me. I want to share my screen. We have been working on getting our websites over the holidays all set. And one of the particular templates we're using that we like so much is called Parallax One. I got both Dick using it and Frank using it, but Parallax had failed in that these are the service areas. They failed to be able to be linkable, but now they are. So we've got all of these cool things linkable. I'll go over to Frank's here real quick. Here's Frank's, and I haven't got his link to each page just yet, but when we're ready to rock and roll with those, we're going to have these all linked, which is really a nice feature of the Parallax theme, is being able to have basically this one-page website, the overview of your website and your offerings and whatnot, and then of course being able to just jump right in and dive in and drill down even further and further to include podcasts or blog posts and everything. So it's pretty cool, pretty cool. All right, next thing I wanted to go. Oh, anybody have any questions on that before I leave?
No.
Okay. Next thing I want to go to is I want to share my screen some more, but tell me if you've got this. You guys got a business plan up?
Yeah.
All right. Well, interesting. I use this business plan software, and basically it forces you to go down through all this stuff here on the right, if you're able to see it. Okay. And but business plans pain in the derriere, but priceless when it comes down to what you've got to do in your executive summaries and your highlights. Here's your executive summary. And it up here always has a section to tell you what to do and how to fill the stuff out. But here's the objectives, here's the mission, here's the keys to success. And basically one of the things I wanted to bring this up is we had an entrepreneurs meeting on Monday where we had a new member come by, and she's got a business going and wants to understand what to do, what not to do. And I asked her point blank if she'd ever done a business plan, and she said no. And they're a pain, like I say. However, when you get down to the SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, it really, you're able to sit down and say, well, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are the opportunities I have in front of me? And what threats do we have? And where your competitive edge is, your marketing strategy. So a good business plan should have a sales strategy, marketing sales strategy. Here's your sales forecast, and right here, it does all these bars and graphs and stuff for you, which is really nice. So even if you don't ever intend to get an investor, going down through something like this is priceless to really flush out what you're doing, and at least the SWOT analysis, if nothing else, is phenomenal. So, any feedback on that, guys?
Only that, if you used to have a saying, something about if you're not planning what you're doing, you don't know where you're going. And I think to a business, of one person like myself to a multi-conglomerate corporation, you need to have some sort of plan that says, here's my goals, here's what I want to do, and give you a direction of where you're going to go to run your business. So I don't know how you can do a business without a business plan.
Yeah, it's that comes from Benjamin Franklin. A fail to
Yes.
plan is to plan to fail.
Right.
And this is the print format of all the data you fill
Mhm.
out, and I mean it looks really nice. I mean, if you think
Yeah.
about it, this really starts to make you real, and it's only 23 pages, minimum stuff, but I'll be darned if it isn't wonderful in print to take a look and see what your work has
Sure.
been.
Absolutely.
And marketing strategies and where your customers are coming from, and I mean, it's just priceless to do these things.
And Peter, it's, we've talked about this before, especially when we're getting involved with Gordon. This business plan is a living document. You've developed a plan, and then you have to review the results, make changes, tweak it, and also it's not something you do, put in a booklet and forget about it. It's something that is part of your everyday, monthly and quarterly reviews, what you're doing, what worked, what didn't work, and were your analysis right about your SWOT issues.
Hmm.
All those things are very important. It's not, you take the time to do the plan, and so many people say, okay, I got my business plan done, put it in a binder, put it in a bookcase, and never look at it until the next year. I mean, when you do your reviews, which you should be doing a minimum of quarterly, but should be doing monthly, you refer back to your plan and say, am I hitting the goals? If not, why not? Are the goals real? Those types of things. So,
Yeah, you can go
yeah.
back in and even add and refine this and get
Right.
another version, you know?
Well, yeah, on your sales projections, you go back in and just say, well, okay,
Yep.
here's what I projected. Here's what I did.
Yep.
Did I achieve it? Not achieve it? What did I do right? What did I do wrong? Yeah, absolutely. That's,
Yeah. So I think it's a
yeah,
great way
yeah,
to track your success or failure, so to
right,
speak, and what to do with it.
right.
Now, I don't know, Frank. We're going to be talking about your new business here in a
Mhm.
bit. But wouldn't your clientele, uh, not necessarily full business plan, but maybe some Excel spreadsheet on their sales and what they thought, some projection versus real, some way to tangibly track that might be of value to them. I don't know, but um, think that out.
I have some opinions on that. Yes, I do.
Oh, okay. And I'm sure it's not what I want to hear, but go ahead.
It's not what you want to hear right now. No, no, it's not.
Well, one thing I think that the challenge is, though, Frank, is if, and we've always talked about this as entrepreneurs, if we're not self-disciplined enough to make X number of calls to, and then to track what's working and what's not working, then we really don't ever get a chance to understand um, what our failures and successes really are from a systemic standpoint. And
Right.
I'm sure you must agree with that part.
Okay.
Maybe, maybe not, but I think there's some pig and a poke in there somewhere. Dick, what do you think about? I mean, because you've got a downline,
Yeah.
shouldn't we develop some kind of Excel spreadsheet or something that says basically this is what I'm called, this is what I did do or didn't do, and
Yeah.
what worked and
Well,
what didn't? And,
I get that from Legal Shield. I have a back office report that shows me, my members, how long, and all that, and then the associates that are with me, what their activity was, what their so I already get all that uh, from Legal Shield, and I look at it every month. Absolutely.
That
right.
is priceless. What you
Yeah.
just mentioned, Dick, is
But
priceless.
that's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, okay. Well, then it was my misunderstanding. That is what
Yeah.
Legal Shield
Yeah.
provides for you. I think
Yeah.
every network marketing company should
Yeah.
provide. Man, maybe they do, maybe they
Yeah.
do. But that is priceless.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So, so that's my calling. Let me see here. I believe we've got everything else ready to rock and roll here. And
Oh,
you almost forgot about that, didn't you?
I did. I was thinking about the thing. All right,
All right, that's
that's
a twin
news. Music
news.
to my ears. That's Twin. It's This Week in the News. And this week's news headline is, Hey, Nanxi Liu, Liu. Thank you for the small business lessons. And there are three. And Nancy is spelled Nanxi. Xi. That's pretty cool. Who the heck is Nanxi Liu? Well, as you can probably imagine from the spelling of her name, she was born in 1988 in very rural China. And you'll see very rural in a minute. And for the first 5 years of her life, she was separated from her parents, and she was raised by her grandparents, her aunts and her uncles, her family,
On a farm.
in a house without running water. That's how rural China was. Now, why was she separated from her parents? Well, her parents were education-oriented, and they received scholarships to study in Europe, but they could not afford to take their daughter with them. But when she turned 5, her parents immigrated to Colorado because her father was on a scholarship to get his PhD, and her mother was on a scholarship to get her second master's degree. And they could afford to bring Nancy from China to live with them. But money was still tight because they were living on scholarship money. and her parents had to work as waiters and waitresses at night just to make ends meet. Well, 5-year-old Nancy, she knew they didn't have much money because they lived in subsidized housing. We call it Section 8, I don't know what they call it out here. And Nancy had to be on the free lunch program at school. But you know what? Nancy was living with her parents. She had running water, and life was pretty darn good for Nancy. She thought she was in heaven. All right? It all depends where you come from. Now, as she got older, Nancy begged her parents for a piano. And her parents, I don't know if they felt guilty because they ignored it for 5 years, but they found a used piano at a garage sale for $100, which was almost their entire life savings to that point.
Wow.
And Nancy took piano lessons from a teacher who charged $7 per hour. Remember, money was tight, but they did it for the little girl. Obviously, they loved her. Her parents were giving their little girl, and they only had one child, the best life they could afford. Well, Nancy, as you'll see in a minute, really got into piano. And she started entering competitions, and son of a gun, she won prizes. And Nancy says, wow, this is really cool. And there's a lesson that Nancy learned from that. If I put in the time and the work at playing, I can win prizes. And she said, life is good again. She says she found a way to be successful. But Nancy did not always win the competitions. And it was when she lost that her mother taught her a lesson that to this day Nancy keeps as her success strategy. Here's what Nancy's mother told her daughter when she lost. She said, Nancy, you are not any less talented than any of the other piano players. You could have won. The reason you did not win was because of the amount of time you put into practicing. They wanted to win more than you wanted to win. And Nancy translated what her mother said into this lesson. I can control the outcomes of certain things if I put in enough time and enough effort. Another great lesson. Then years later, Nancy, again, was education-oriented like her parents, surprise. She took a workshop. And here's what the instructor said at the workshop when he opened the class. He said, I am going to teach you how to become luckier. Now, that's a great opening. You know you're going to listen to the second sentence when somebody says, I'm going to teach you how to improve your luck. Right? And here's what he said. And again, another thing that Nancy took to heart. She says, luck is all about the number of people you know and the number of people you meet. Wow. So Nancy took that lesson to heart and she translated that. She says, luck is a numbers game. So wherever Nancy goes, she tries to meet as many people as she can and build as many relationships as possible. And here's something she does, and shame on me, and I'll pick on me for not thinking of this, not being as bright as Nancy. When Nancy flies, and you'll see in a minute, she does a lot of flying, she always takes and requests the middle seat in an airplane so that she can talk to a person on the left and a person on her right. She just doubled the number of people, right, that she could talk to. And even though Nancy, she's a shy person, whenever she attends an event, whether it be a networking event or a chamber thing, whatever event, she tries to get as many business cards as she can, and she emails them that evening when she gets home to start trying to build a relationship. As Nancy tells herself, she says, I need to go and meet people because my luck relates to the number of people I let myself meet. Bad for a little kid without running water when she was up to 5 years old. So let's proceed to today. Who is Nancy today? Well, Nancy is on her second business that she has co-founded. Her first business was she did it with a chemist that she met she met at a singles thing. That's not a story. Her first business it was called Nanxi Bioscience. Her and her partner developed a chemical shield that allows vaccines to survive without refrigeration. So now we could send vaccines to all these poor parts of the world, maybe the jungles or the fields, and the vaccines did not need refrigerated. Awesome. But it is a current company called N-Plug that I want to discuss. And here's what Nancy talks about this. She says, you know what? In the 80s and 90s, we had something called personal computing. Okay. She says, then we had the rise of mobile computing, which turned cell phones into smartphones. And now there's something called cloud computing. Okay. But Nancy's company is now taking the next step. And I thought of this because I thought of you, Peter. She says, there are posters and displays that you see at stadiums, restaurants, hotels everywhere that have not changed in the last 10 years. She says they're all showing the same old static content that you cannot interact with. Her company, Nplug, creates software that transforms all public displays into intelligent displays, and it is growing rapidly. Nplug has hundreds of companies, and I saw the Marriotts and big names ranging from local cafes, local cafe in India, to Fortune 500 companies. Nplug charges a monthly fee of $159 a month to $3,000 a month to use their software, depending on the size of the company and the number of things you want to do. The companies plug their device, which is the size of a business card, into the digital display, which connects to the internet. Then the company decides which social media sites they want instantaneous feedback to be shown on their post and display. And yes, they do have code in software that blocks unfavorable feedback. You just don't want it. You don't want that in a restaurant, right? Plus, they have a feature that says all displays must be approved by someone at the company before it goes on the screen. Think about this. How many times do we look at displays that have static information, and you know what we do? We ignore it because we've already seen the stuff that they've shown at least twice. With Nplug, the information displayed is new, it's fresh, and it is intriguing. You don't know what's going to appear next. Brilliant for a 5-year-old kid who didn't have running water. Right? So here's the 3 business lessons that I took from Nanxi Liu. Nancy with an X. Number 1, how badly do you want to win? Remember Nancy, the piano concert? Are you investing the time and effort to achieve your goals? Right. Lesson number 2. How are you improving your luck? How many new people are you meeting and beginning a relationship with every time you go out? And lesson number 3, in the area you are working in, what has not changed in the last 10 years that is screaming for an improvement? And gentlemen, that's my twin for this week about Nanxi Liu.
Very cool. And you'll send me that for the
What, my write-up?
yeah, well, the links for the website.
Well, yeah, it's Nplug. Yeah, I can say the link. Yeah, I got this from Wikipedia and Fortune Magazine and Business Insider. Yeah,
Okay,
from
good.
articles written about her. She's now 28 years old. By the way, at Nplug, just because I guess we have a couple minutes. When she formed the company, she bought a house. I guess from the first one, she bought a house with 5 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms, and all employees that came to work at Nplug initially, they didn't have a lot of money to pay them a lot of salary, so they gave them a smaller salary and free room and board, and they worked in the house. And she says you wouldn't believe how much progress we made because we were there. She says it was amazing.
Immersive.
They currently have 30 employees and 10 live at the house. 10 live at the house. Again, and she's an attracted beauty pageants and won and lost, that kind of thing. So I think she's a fascinating young lady, 28 years old.
Well, Frank, I got to tell you, the fact about your luck is dependent on the amount of people you meet and know is so true for me in what I'm trying to do. And it's just a living example of, the 2.5 months I spent in my underground bunker in Connecticut. There's not a lot of people down there. I didn't meet a lot of people, I didn't want to rent a car and spend $1,000 a month for a car. So I was kind of housebound. And, I met very few people I hadn't already met back there. And my business just went right down.
Let me ask you, how was your luck for those 2 or 3 months?
I should say my business went right down the tubes. My luck was bad. I spent more time being Peter than I did being Dick, for crying out loud. So I couldn't agree more with that statement. And I've started getting back out again, meeting people, and I got this whole weekend. I got things to do with the local chambers, and also, that is such a true statement. I've never heard it put that way, but it's a true statement.
Yeah. Can you imagine going to a class? I think it was called, the workshop was called Transformation. I think it was like a 4-hour workshop, Transformation in Colorado. Transformation. And you sit down and the guy comes up and says, I'm going to show you how to improve your luck. Damn, that's going to grab your attention.
Yeah, sure is.
Right? What a great way to open
Yeah.
up a class.
Yeah.
He had them right there for at least 2 hours, as long as he
Yeah.
was interesting. And
Yeah.
but again, and I don't like business cards. I
Right.
learned a hell of a lesson from Nancy about that.
About
Stop.
business cards.
Well, the fact that she grabs business cards, I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know if
Right.
she hands them out, and she won't go to bed that night until she emails them a note that says, "Hey, it was nice meeting you," and she finds a reason for them to hopefully continue to begin a relationship or a conversation. Now she's not there selling a damn thing. She's out there meeting people, starting relationships. Brilliant. To me, how much does that cost? Well, you have to attend the event, and you have to get out of your bunker
Yeah.
to do
That's
that,
right.
right?
She has
That's
to have a
right,
car
yeah.
to get out of the bunker.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Anyway, so I was very impressed with Nancy. Very impressed.
Very good.
Very good. All right. So Dick, you got an entrepreneurial lesson up.
Yeah, I do, and it kind of ties a little bit into what Frank was just saying. And I don't go back and quote somebody. Gordon Moore, who was a co-founder of Intel, uh, there's such a thing as Moore's law, and what that law says. When I started in the industry, I was selling vacuum tubes for TVs and stuff like that, and then we went to diodes, transistors, and integrated circuits, all that. Well, Gordon Moore is a co-founder of Intel, which is the world's largest integrated circuit microprocessor manager computer going. And he said back in the 70s, actually no, probably early 70s, when the first integrated circuit came out, that the density of computer chips will double every 18 months to 2 years. And that is held true all the way through. And the reason I bring that up is because what that does is it forces the economy, everything changes with such rapid growth. All the people are doing things that are supporting Intel have to be able to keep up with that growth. And I guess the point I want to make here is that we are in a ever-changing, evolving world, and it behooves us to keep up with it. As business owners, if I'm one person or a big company, you have to keep up with the change. One of the things that Legal Shield asks us to do, obviously voluntarily, but asks us to do is spend at least 1 hour every day with self-improvement, self-education, reading, watching videos, whatever. Just spend that hour and learn something every day. And I try and do that because I enjoy reading also. So I do that. Well, when I was flying back with my adventure from Connecticut, I was reading the USA Today business section, and this headline caught my ear. It says, "Conversational commerce will likely spell the end of Google as we know it." Now, that's a pretty powerful statement. I'd never heard of conversational commerce. Have any of you folks heard of that yet?
Never.
Okay.
No, never.
And what it is, and I'm not an expert on it, is, USA Today articles are not in depth, but basically, one of the paragraph in here says an average phone user spends 84% of his or her time in just 5 apps. And brands are realizing that people aren't spending time in their apps, so they're trying to get into Facebook and things like this. Conversational commerce, which Google is working on, and so is obviously Facebook, is if you're on Facebook Messenger and someone says something about a product or an event or whatever, you have to get out of that, go into Google it, and find out what it is, then go back. And this will allow you to access anything without leaving Facebook Messenger or Google's new product, which is going to come out. So that term Googling it will become obsolete in a year or so. There are companies right now that are doing it, and China has a couple companies that have been doing it for a while. So you don't have to, out of those 5 apps that you spend 80% of your time in, you don't have to get out of them to go find the information. If you're talking with somebody, you just punch it in and you stay where we are. Which is, when you read the headline that will spell the end of Google as we know it, that catches your attention because they're such a powerhouse. But they're still going to be big in this. And the point that I want to make is, as a business owner, you better keep on top of it. It's not the technology changes that we care about as much. Peter does for sure, but not me. Is how are people getting their message out to the prospective clients? And these companies are seeing that unless they're engaged somewhere with Facebook or some of these social networks in the right way, they're not going to get there. Because I found this staggering that 84% of the average phone user spends their time on just 5 apps. So here you are, you're doing your mobile friendly, you're doing all these things. People aren't going there. You've got to get to them now. And with this new conversational commerce, it sounds like that's where you're going to do it. So that was just a quick one. I just advise all business owners, entrepreneurs, spend some time every day reading on the latest marketing techniques, the latest social networks, and how are people getting their information to make the decisions to buy. You have to make sure that you're in that process somewhere along the way. If you're just sitting out there on a website, it reduces your chances significantly. And as more and more things go mobile, which they are moving at a rapid pace, you're going to be left out if you're not in that world. So take the time to learn it. Like I say, I'm encouraged by Legal Shield to spend a minimum of an hour a day with self-education and improvement, and I advise everyone to try to do the same. That's a quick entrepreneur thing.
The Google Docs allows you actually to search whilst you're in the doc. So they've kind of got that model going already.
Right. Yeah. Google. This article said Google and Facebook are going head to head fighting each other on this conversational commerce thing. So.
Whilst we're on that topic, I would like to share one thing. It'll take me a moment to get this up and going. I actually shared it with you guys earlier. Come on.
5 apps, huh?
Yeah, 84% of the time in 5 apps.
So I'm just thinking, the apps I go on my phone, again, and I don't have 5. I feel like I'm sure I only have 2 or 3 that I go to, and that's it.
Yeah, I go to 2, really. I go to Facebook and Twitter.
I never thought of that.
Yeah,
and I got all these other apps on my phone that I don't know why I should just delete the damn things, but I don't.
Same way. I'm the same way, yeah.
All right, let me share my screen with you guys now, so you can see this too. This I sent out to you, the 5 keys to launch a killer website. Right.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things they made a statement on here, that people make an incredible decision here. About 75% of the internet users make judgments about a company credibility based on its website design.
Yeah.
And I got thinking about that. Really? But you know what? Remember how I always did the A/B study? Here's one website and here's your competitor. Here's and that.
Right.
And it was a no-brainer. You want to go with people with a better website.
Right.
And I think it follows just kind of sort of behind what you're saying is that, with this conversational thing, people that are maybe talking about your product or stuff like that in a positive way, and it goes all the way back to those boards too, Frank, you tend to prefer them over everybody else, And I was looking at this, and it has a footnote in here, and I went down to look at their data, and I'll have a link to this, but basically it has some validity that in fact these numbers are in fact true. That people make a big decision based on a website design versus your competitors because they competitively shop, right? So if they get to a website that looks good, feels good, everything is great about it, then they get to another one that's gacky, and of course gacky is a technical term. People do make decisions on this stuff, and your digital property is becoming even more important than ever before.
Right.
With this. So.
Well, Peter, what I interpret this, reading this article and just doing a little bit more research on it, is that the old way of Googling a thing, getting to a website, having your keywords and the SEOs, all those lined up, is going to go by the way you have to be on a social network like Facebook with your product or services. Someone has to find them there and has to start talking about it with their friends on Facebook. So then they'll be right there. You're telling me about something. I said, let me check it out while we're talking, and check it out. And so it's really narrowing. Well, it's making it much more difficult in a lot of ways to be recognized. But your strategy has got to be on these social network things to get your product known there, then drive them to your website.
Well, that's what these guys say is not going to happen because of the plethora of different social medias. Where are you going to go? Well, Facebook, you're going to go on Pinterest, you're going to go Twitter, you're going to go Instagram, you're going to go, you name it, right? and they're seeing a problem of getting people back over to their website. So organic search is becoming, especially on Facebook, is becoming more and more important, and using some kind of ad to get them over on the website, and then engage visitors directly on your website. In other words, don't let them go back over to social media. Make a social media type thing, which of course in your case, Dick, are your blog posts, and people can respond to them right there. But that's becoming more the trend now, which is interesting.
Well, it is, because if what I read this article is true, that is entirely opposite of what they're saying, that the trend is going to be with this, conversational commerce, that they're trying to keep you on the social network
and not let you off.
You've said to me how many times on my website, don't do that because you're taking them off your website.
Right.
You want them to stay on your website. What they're trying to do, based upon your advice to me, is keep them on their social network so they don't ever have to leave it.
Right.
So I think your business strategy's got to be, there's 8 million social network. Which ones work for you?
Right.
And that's the key.
SEO is still very important, and always will be.
Yeah.
I mean, particularly when Google then decides it's going to get a relationship with Facebook, so they can actually spider everybody's comments and categorize them, so you can find them again. SEO and injecting keywords, connected to your particular business or industry becomes even more important. So it's a very interesting time. And going back to this one slide here, engage your visitors directly on your website. That's what Facebook wants to say is, we don't want you off our website. Our website is our social media place called Facebook. Yeah. So this is quite true, except for us, we'd like to try to get them out of the Facebook and over to our site so they can have a totally immersive thing with our product and our people and our stuff. So.
What it says, you almost have to have a dual strategy. You have to have your website SEO'd, and you have to have a social network program. So you're attacking both channels.
It's not one or the other. It's both.
Right.
And
it's both,
as we talked to our new member of the Entrepreneur Club about a wheel, your business is the hub, and every spoke that comes out that touches the rim is a marketing channel. Yeah. In this case, it's a website. The next spoke is Facebook. The next spoke is Blogger. The next spoke is whatever. But they all lead back to the hub, hopefully, of your website and etc. So interesting. It is truly an interesting time as things change. And I think the jury's out. Facebook has said, I heard Facebook say the other day that it's all about video. Yeah, but that's the whole thing is going to be about video. Now, it's hard to be on Facebook without seeing tons of videos now, right?
Right. Yeah,
and even one video leads to the next, leads to the next, leads. You never actually have to leave it, even though they're being served from YouTube. You never leave Facebook.
Right.
So.
But the whole point of the discussion was to the business owner, the entrepreneur's lesson is you have to spend time keeping up with the times and the changing trends and change the way to get to your customers.
And I think that's what makes this podcast so important.
Right.
Yeah. We're not bleeding edge, we're cutting edge. In some cases we're bleeding edge, the edge before the cutting edge. So if they just listen to us once a week, there you go.
Absolutely.
You get 1 out of 5 days just by listening to what we're doing and Frank's wonderful twin lessons. We ought to make a booklet on those twin lessons.
It's interesting. I thought about taking the twins and putting together a little booklet about them.
At one time when blogging was new and in its craze in the blogosphere, there are publishers that can take your blogs and make them into booklets. Now, we don't have our twins written, but it would be...
I do.
Oh, okay. It would be very interesting.
I have them all.
It would be very interesting to have a booklet of twins.
Yeah.
And we could use Simple Booklet to do that. And I happen to know an expert.
I heard.
I'm on my screen. I'm pointing to Dick Bentley. Anybody else?
What's the number of pages maximum on the booklet?
No, I don't think there is one.
I don't think there's a limit. I try to keep mine to 6 or 7.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, in your case,
you could do 10 or 12,
20 or 30 or 40. I mean, we've done 60, 70 podcasts now. So theoretically, you have 70 twins to choose from.
Right.
Okay.
And you might, you could break them up into quarterly twins to keep them, a little bit less cumbersome or
I mean, even
whatever.
if
But
you
yeah.
did the twin of the week and sent it out to people,
Mm,
you know,
yeah.
Yeah.
that would be interesting in itself.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
well, anyway. All right, and then now, fractured business tales. Dick,
Okay. Uh,
Here we go.
I
there
have
we
I
go.
have I
Strap
have a
in, everybody.
fractured industry tale, and then I have a fractured business tale.
Okay.
The industry is the airlines industry. Uh, as you know, if anybody's watched this, I was in Connecticut at my daughter's house for over 2 months, and I was supposed to fly back on the 27th of December to Palm Springs Airport, and make a long story short, 5 days later I got home, and I won't go through all the things and bore you with it was all weather related. The funny, ironic thing is, it's not funny what happened, but the storm hit Dallas. The day I was supposed to fly into Dallas, there was tornadoes. Flights are canceled. The next day, the same storm hit Chicago. It caused a tremendous backup. And the next day, the same storm hit Connecticut and caused me to be 3 hours late getting out of Connecticut, missing flights and setting the whole thing into motion. So the same storm got me 3 times. It's unbelievable. But what I want to talk about the airline industry is I was just amazed at how archaic they are in their whole processing of people. Uh, One thing that came to me through the whole thing, in fact, I said it to one of the many people I was talking to trying to get out of there, is when these storms hit, obviously they have no control over them, but when they hit, they take on the persona of the victim. I'm talking to a guy and he's saying, "Oh, this, I got so many of this." They say, "Wait a minute, buddy, I'm stranded here and I can't get home for 5 days. You're not the victim. You're supposed to be helping me." And that's that whole attitude they take. But the boarding process, I stood in line many times over that 4 days. The boarding process has not changed since I started flying. They still got the manual, the so-called, paperless system. It doesn't work. They still got their boarding passes. They're counting, they're checking the pile. I stood at a counter with two ladies for 20 minutes, never picked up the head. They're just going through boarding passes. And it just struck me that I can remember doing this when I first started flying in the 70s. The same process. It's standing in front of them. They were clicking away and all. It takes them an hour to turn over a plane. The only airline. Excuse me one sec. Okay, sorry about that. The only airline that that changed it was Southwest. When they came on, I can remember flying them. They would turn the plane around in 20 to 25 minutes, in and out, and that increased their amount of passengers, amount of seats filled, and they made a lot of money. I haven't flown them in a little while, so I'm not sure if they're back to where they were. But it took, in Connecticut, American Airlines, it took them, I think this was a small regional jet, so maybe there's 100 people on, took them 1 hour to board the people, clear it, change people around, do stuff like that. So I think I just want to make an observation that the airline industry is not kept up with the times as far as what can be done electronically and what can be done automatically. And that creates, if they take that long to turn a plane around that's 3 hours late, it just keeps pushing everything back. And the second thing I think they should have, when there's a natural disaster, FEMA is on the scene helping out. This to the airline industry, that weather was a natural disaster, and they just don't do anything different. They just do the same thing every day. They don't put on extra planes. They don't put on more people. They don't do. They just said, okay, it's a storm. We're the victim, and you guys are going to have to suffer through our problems. So that's kind of a little synopsis of what I think the airline industry is behind the times. Now, the fractured service one, which has really gotten me, I spoke to my Legal Shield attorney, and we're going to be writing letters to American Airlines to see if I can get some form of compensation for everything I went through, is my luggage. Left Connecticut on the 28th, I think it was. No, 29th. And we were that day scheduled to fly from Connecticut to Chicago to Phoenix to San Diego, and I was going to rent a car and drive home. That does go right into Palm Springs. That flight I missed got canceled, so the next day I had to spend a night in Chicago. The next day I was Chicago, Phoenix, San Diego. That flight didn't get canceled, but the incoming flight came in a couple hours late, so I missed my connection. I would have missed my connection Phoenix for San Diego, so I said just cut it off. I'll go to Phoenix, drive home, 4 hours, okay. So I went down to baggage services, and I showed them in Chicago O'Hare Airport, which meant I had to go through security a couple of times, which it was really a pain in the neck. And the lady assured me that my bags were in Palm Springs. I said, I have 4 tickets. All 4 there? Check. Absolutely, sir. I said, are you sure? Absolutely positive. All 4 are in Palm Springs. I said, well, that's great news. At least my bags are there. So I eventually get home. New Year's Eve day, I get down to the airport. 2 bags are there. 2 are not. They're in San Diego. I spent until yesterday morning, I made at least 20 calls. Each call assured me they were going to send an urgent message to San Diego baggage claim. Call them, can't get through. They won't answer, won't pick up, the whole thing.
That's 4 days. 4 days. The people,
yeah, Yes, and yesterday, which was really now 7 days that my bags were shipped. They made it through 7 days. I called first thing. I spent 2 hours, and I was brought up to the so-called king of the expediter bag service thing, and this lady goes through, and she does the same thing. I'll send a message. I said, wait a minute, you're supposed to be the head honcho, chief expediter of baggage. She says, well, I'm sending a message to her. I said, so 15 other ones gone. And she said, well, sir, that's like, I said, can you call them? And she said, well, I tried calling, but they don't pick up. And I said, I've heard that now for 7 days. So I said to her, can I ask you a question? She said, yeah. I said, is there any customer service phone number in the San Diego airport for American Airlines that you can call and ask somebody to go baggage claim and check it out?
And verify.
I said, no. And verify it. She said, no. I said, let me ask it again. Maybe you didn't understand me. So I asked her the same question. I said, no. I said, that defies logic, that you can't get a hold of the San Diego airport and you're supposedly the head chief of these problems. She said, well, that's the limit of my authority. I said, that's it. I've had it. So I hung up, decided I was going to drive down to San Diego yesterday, which I did. And that drive turned out to be a 7.5-hour ride. I drove down and took about 3 hours. My bags were there. And I said that the baggage claim guy, I said, do you guys got messages on my bag? He said, oh, no, I don't have any messages. Didn't even look at the computer. I said, do you ever answer your phone? He said, oh, yeah, all the time. I said, well, that's not the experience I had, but I didn't want to get too big of an argument because I wanted to get my bag. So he takes me to this wall. It's about 40 feet long with doors of all lost bags that have been there for more than 3 days. And it's unbelievable. So my bags were there. I got them, got back in the car. I start out, and the weather alert comes on the radio describing severe, dangerous weather for like 5 cities. And I'm just starting to go through all 5 cities. I mean, my phone's blinking. Excuse me. My phone's blinking. Emergency warning. Severe weather where you are. I felt like saying, you don't have to tell me. I know, I'm in it. So long story short, it took 4.5 hours for me to get home last night. And I got my bags. Everything's fine. But on the way down, I talked to called Legal Shield. I explained the whole situation. And I got to put together all the details. We're going to write a letter to American Airlines. I'm going to request, travel vouchers or something to make up for it. Because her point was, all the other things talk about, they could say was weather, but they didn't get you to your destination, and they charged you to get your destination, and you had to rent a car to get home. So I'll get to her this afternoon. She's going to send a letter out, and I'll let you know what the results are. But that, to me, is a fractured business tale. So that's my story.
And you're sticking to it, right?
And you're a high-level rewarded passenger for all the miles you have.
Yeah, I'm a lifetime executive platinum member of American Airlines.
And what did they get you?
Nothing. Nothing. And you know what's funny is, because when we check our luggage, they have big things: priority service, expedite.
Right.
These big tags on them. What did that get me? Nothing. So.
That's awful. What an awful
Yeah,
story.
yeah,
And you know, and yeah, you're used to it, but I don't know if your wife did a lot of traveling, but she
yeah.
had to live with that crap.
Oh, yeah.
Did she
Yeah,
drive
it was
down with
awful.
you?
No, I drove out by
Oh,
myself.
good.
Yeah.
There was only one Bentley with the real nose
Yeah.
out of joint, not
Yeah,
two.
there's only one Bentley who was getting all sorts of severe warning. It's funny that I'm driving through the city and they're announcing. I drive through, they're announcing it right up almost all the way past Temecula. I mean, it was pouring rain. So, but
Did you hit any snow in the Beaumont Pass area or anything?
no, I didn't. It was rain there, and but it rained all the way right onto I got home. Even out here it was raining. So,
And you guys felt the earthquake too, right?
oh
Yeah.
yeah, that was a big one.
Yesterday morning, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just sitting watching the news, and boom, all of a sudden I was dancing. Yeah, so,
Yeah, it was closer
but
to you guys than it was to me, but out
yeah,
here it just kind of rolls us because of the sand,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
or
yeah,
us, me. Anyway, all right. And so if we're done with that, I'd like
yeah.
Frank to talk about your new business, Frank, and
Sure.
and I'll be sharing your website in just a minute with that. Okay?
Sure. Let me start. And this is relatively new, so I'm going to keep it anonymous, not mention the company names or people's names because
Right.
it just started.
Right.
Yeah. But I attend a regular Tuesday morning meeting at a restaurant networking business group meeting. And about 8 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, we had a lady show up. It was the first time, and she introduced herself, and we had a little chit chat, and I was the pain in the neck that I normally am, and I think I offended her a little bit. But she was in the multi-level marketing business, and so I heard it, and I said, okay, no big deal, and I did my thing. I get home, and that night she calls, and I saw the caller ID, and I said, oh man, I'm not gonna. So I didn't take the call because I knew, because we know what those multi-level marketing people do. They try to get you in. Okay, so I prejudged her. That's what I did. I ignored it. Went to voicemail. I said, I didn't return the call. 2 nights later, 7:30 at night, she calls again. Caller ID. I says, man, she's good. I ignored it again. Similar voicemail. 2 nights later, she calls again, about 7:30, quarter of 8 at night. I said, okay, I got to stop this. So I pick up, and I'm polite, and she says, hi, so-and-so, and we talked. She said, I'd like to meet you for a cup of coffee. I said, oh, have I heard this before? I said, okay. I said, I'll go through it. It's no big deal. I'm a big guy. I can say no. So we met the following Tuesday, as a matter of fact, at the restaurant, and we talked, and she was very professional, very nice. And at one time she said, I find you kind of brash. And I said, I've succeeded. Okay,
Hmm?
life is good. Okay.
We need to make a
And then she
T-shirt.
said, and then she said, I heard what you said, because I was talking about the 27-second thing. She says, I think that could help my business. So we talked. I said, oh, no, if she had said that in the beginning, I would have taken the first call, but I didn't. Okay. So we worked for 5 weeks straight. I put together some stuff, passed it by because it's her business, and she's a VP at this level in multi-level as a business. So I put together a thing, and I showed it to her, and we made some change. She approved it, and she said, I'm going to set up 2 webinars for you, one for my group in Australia and one for my group in Canada. So, but I want to do them rather quickly. So we did the first one, the Sunday of Christmas weekend, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's the middle of summer in Australia. We had 4 people on the webinar. I said, okay, we practiced. I did my thing and so forth. And then we did the next one, 2 nights later, between Christmas and New Year's for the Canadian people, and it was 10 o'clock in Toronto and 7 o'clock on the west coast of Canada. I think we had 3 people show up, so it was 4 and 3. And I said, well, because I had nothing to lose, I said, I'm going to do my thing. So she introduced me, which was nice, and I stopped my presentation, don't say a word, and I asked 4 questions. 1 on each slide, 4 questions. I said, if you answered yes to those 4 questions, we might have something to work on. If you answered no to one of those questions, we have nothing that we can do together. So I immediately put that thing out. So it was a 30-minute webinar, and I did my thing and so forth. And I said, we're going to schedule another one, and I'm going to do something else. I'll tell you what the topics were because they can relate to it. I talked about, I'm sorry. My charge was to help them find quality downline partner. They call them partners. I don't know what they call them in Legal Shield. So you call them associates. They said because we all have associates, but very few of them are doing anything. I said okay. So that was, and man, Peter and Dick, I can't tell you how excited I was when I got that challenge. I loved doing the research, and I bought MLM books. And I did, and I was loving it. I loved it. So I come up with some pretty good stuff. Anyway, so I talked about the first webinar was in 3 sections. What do you do before you even go out? You got to get you together. Second thing, when you go out, I told them to do just the opposite of what their company told them to do. Don't go out and look for people to talk to. Don't go out for look for people that you can. Their line was, I'd like to share an opportunity with you. Can we meet for a cup of coffee? Don't do that. And whatever it is, and I don't want to go because it is. I have to keep it anonymous. I said no. Go out and get found by people looking for someone like you. And I put together a 3-tier threat. The topic of the second part was never feel rejected again. Never feel rejected. And I said, and I told them, and I went through the thing. It's a 7-second test and a 17-second test and then a 27-second test. I said, only if they pass those 3 tests do you give them the Doug and Annalisa story. We can relate to that, right?
Sure.
I said, until then, if they pass the first test, if they fail the first test, either they're not interested, the timing's not right, be polite, don't give them your card, and do not talk about your business. Be polite and move on. Because if you see them again, you may have a chance to do that. I said, and then the third part of it was, what do you do when you present your opportunity? And I told them how to do that. Anyway, so that was it. So we did that, and they were polite at the end, and they thanked me and so forth, which was nice. So we set up the next, or the last one, Tuesday night of this week, and we did it for both Australia and Canada, which means the time zones were really screwed up for everybody except for me because it was 6 o'clock at night our time. And I had 4 and 3, so I said 7. I had 7 people show up, but it was different people. It was different. It was only maybe 2 or 3 of the same people. I said, oh man. So so I did my thing, and the topic of the 1-2 nights ago was, here are the 7 reasons why people will join your organization and how you can turn them into your advantage. And then we went through the whole thing, that kind of thing. And at the end, I said, you have 3 choices now. I said, you can keep doing what you're doing, and here's the difference. You can take what I taught you these last 2 calls and do it on your own. I said, you'll eventually be successful. I'm convinced. Or 3, you can engage me, and I will teach you and mentor you and do it a lot quicker and get you to where you want to be. I said, those are your 3 choices. I said, I'm going to put together a group. I've never done this before. I'm going to put together a group. I said, you have until Friday at midnight to decide, and you're going to call your upline, because I said, I have no right nor any interest to contact you unless you're interested. So I said, I don't even know your email addresses. I said, let your upline know, who was the lady I met at the restaurant. I said, and she will tell me if you're interested, and then we'll put together a group. I said, and we'll do it in 3 months. And I says, I won't charge you my normal fee because you're not going to pay it. I'm not going to work for 0 because I won't do it. I said, so I come up with a very cheap amount. So they're going to be paying me to develop a course that I'll eventually sell online to the other 200,000 people that are interested. So I remember telling my sponsor, or the lady from the restaurant that called me 3 times, I said, we had 7. I said, I hope I get 2. I said, I'd be thrilled if we got 3. She emailed me last night. She says, as of now, we have 11 people that are interested. And I got 3 more. See, I got a few more people who will decide by Friday at midnight.
That's great.
So
Yeah, congratulations.
I mean,
That's
right
great.
out
Yeah,
of the starting blocks. I mean, that's why I wanted to have him tell the story right out of the freaking starting blocks. That's just awesome.
Yeah. I was again, thank you. But you know what I learned about me? I never had more fun than researching and putting. And again, it's all. And Dick, you and I. I'll tell you, Dick, because you and I can relate to this.
Yeah.
I use 2 things as the basis for the course I'm going to be teaching to these people. One is my 27 seconds, which you'll know about.
Right.
And the other one, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Al DiNicola.
Big Al, the buyer's
Yes.
pal.
Okay, for Peter's benefit, Al was Dick's boss.
Oh.
And he was a man that I never even walked by his office because he had a golden axe on his wall. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
He was the biggest hard ass, and I'm saying, what would Al do in this case? And that's what I thought about. And I haven't
Yeah.
seen Al in 45 years.
Right. Yeah.
But he was such an imposing figure.
Oh, he was.
And,
He was.
and right, again, and I said, you know him. I didn't know him as well as you did. But, and that's all it was. That's all it was Aldi Nicola in 27 seconds was a combination.
Well, I think in Webster's dictionary, after gravitas, his name is there. Yeah.
As
Really.
a matter of fact, I use gravitas on my talk. I used it twice
that
in my
right?
talk. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for letting me tell my story, Peter. And like I say, it just happened. We're not going to close out until Friday at midnight, which is Saturday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Australia. But I know, I think I've already got 5 in Australia and 6 in Canada. I'm excited about doing
I
this.
think it's awesome.
Very excited. And then my goal is to create a series of videos training, because I'll have success stories. And I say, hey, here's what these people learn. They will not get access to me unless they're willing to pay me $1,000. That's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll put a series of courses, and they can buy it on their own and use it on their own.
Fantastic. And, the MLM world needs that kind of help,
Yeah, your market is unlimited.
Yes, it is.
And again, excuse me, Pete, I'm not ignoring you, but Dick, you know what I learned? And it really fell into Nanxi. Nanxi Liu.
Yeah.
When was the last time someone changed the prospecting from MLM?
Right.
Right?
Never.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And
Absolutely.
so one of my slides, I said, you've got to adapt your prospecting to today's iPhone world.
Yeah.
Because it's a different world than it was in 1980 and 1970s.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Anyway, so I probably went long.
And you know what will be even more interesting you haven't thought about?
What's that?
The Frank Syringa app.
Yeah, but it better be one of those 5. Or else.
Yeah.
It'll be the only one they'll use. It'll be the only one they'll use on their phone, because you can push information and success stories back and forth across the whole bunch of them with your app. Think that out. And that app is on their phone, and that phone goes with them everywhere. Priceless.
It does. So anyway, so let's say just beginning. I haven't even done anything. I haven't even closed the registration out yet. But I believe if I have 11 now, I believe I'll have maybe 13 or 4, maybe hopefully 15 by Sunday or Saturday, which would be nice.
So Dick, tell us about Big Al, and what was the word you guys used? Grass something or other?
Gravitas.
Gravitas. I'm not familiar with that term. So
That is a very strong presence when you enter a room and you speak to people. He commands, without saying a word, he commands the attention, because just he was a big, solid guy, really handsome, dark-skinned Italian guy, and he was
big.
Yeah, he was tall, not fat. He was tall, and and he just had that.
like an Arnold Schwarzenegger look or something.
Yeah, even more, in my opinion, even more imposing than Arnold.
More imposing than Kerry Lewis?
No. I think Kerry takes that case. But along with it, he could be the nicest person you ever dealt with, or he could cut your balls off and. Oh, I'm sorry. He could castrate you in 30 seconds.
With the golden axe.
With a golden axe
that he had on his wall.
Right, with a smile on his face. We had a lot of good reviews, and we had a lot of bad discussions.
So the golden axe was the impending
It was
doom.
an
He'll
award.
axe you. It was an award.
Yeah, he got an award or something. But the golden axe, probably for what you're saying, but I forget exactly what it was. And his secretary, what was her name? I forget her name, but she was a lifesaver for me many a times. She'd call me and said, "You better be on alert. Dita Cole is about to call you."
Yeah, all right. Well, good.
But he was a good man, and
He was very good at what he did.
Okay, well, I'll have show notes for your website up there, Frank. And anything else, guys?
That's
no,
it.
that's it.
All right, we'll say goodnight, Dick.
Good night, Dick.
All right.
Good night, Dick.